Hello, and welcome to this movie review podcast. I'm your host, DeoxysPrime, and joining me today, we have Omega.
Hello.
We have Matt.
Hello.
And we have Frank.
Why do we do this to ourselves?
Why do we do this? Because it's fun.
No, but what? No, not in terms of like making the podcast, but like, why do we like willingly spend, $15 to $20 on movie tickets to see like absolute garbage?
I only spent 10.
I'll tell you the answer. It's dark science.
I think the answer is to make these podcasts. Yeah, we're going to be talking about Star Wars Episode 9, Rise of the Skywalker.
It's the rise. It's the Rise of Skywalker.
No, I like
Steve's title better.
Skywalker. I like
Rise of the Skywalker would sound dumber, but would be more consistent with the other movies.
Yeah.
So yeah, we've all seen the movie. And before we really get into the nitty-gritty of what the fuck this movie even was, let's just go around and everyone can give just like a short spiel about what they felt about the movie, like their overall opinion, something like that. So Frank, let's start with you. What was your what are your short thoughts on Episode 9?
I was aware that the movie got some pretty mixed reviews. And I was like, you know what? If I'm gonna see this movie, I might as well see it in the 40X, which is like a very limited like New York thing. Just so that way, even if like the movie itself isn't very good, then at least like that experience will be kind of fun and enjoyable and like worth my ticket price. And like even the 40X couldn't salvage the way that I felt about this movie, because like I know that Star Wars isn't exactly renowned for its phenomenal writing or strong characters, but good golly, this was a lot. Tough to follow from start to finish. Complete nonsensical left turns at any given moment. Just complete failure to keep you invested in any one particular character's fate or development. Especially given, where the first two movies were going. And it's clear that they were limited in some regards because, obviously with Carrie Fisher's death, there's only so much you can do with regard to her plotline. But it seemed like they were writing around those lines in a way that didn't exactly mesh with the other characters. And having those lines come back and echo in ways that are quote-unquote meaningful that really aren't, they really don't hold any meaning at all. I think it was frustrating. I think the fact that they're trying to build this as a resolution to the entirety of Star Wars is infuriating. And I'm not even all that invested in Star Wars, but like, I want my money back. That's
I think Disney does too.
Maybe they do.
How about you, Omega?
This was objectively a terrible film. It was poorly made in almost every aspect. However, out of all of the Star Wars films in this trilogy, this was by far the most fun I've ever had in a Star Wars film. Not since, maybe even more so than the prequels. This, to me, was so enjoyable. It was so dumb. It was so over the top. It was so brazen in its pure stupidity. I loved it so much. So I had a blast. I had fun. But for all the wrong reasons. It was mostly a kind of giddiness at how just awful it was.
Is this the Terraformars of Star Wars films?
Yes, it is.
I wish that I could have enjoyed it in that ironic sense, but I just found myself rolling my eyes more often than I was like having fun at like the stupid.
I was clapping, I was cheering, I was laughing. I had so much fun. So yeah.
All right, Matt.
So I was this fucking movie. not only is this probably not only is this just a bad, like, this isn't just like a bad Star Wars movie, it's just a bad movie in general. It's one of the worst movies I've seen in a long time. It's by far the worst Star Wars movie. And
No way. Go ahead.
I'm just amazed by how much of a fucking mess it ended up being. Like, it's one thing to make a bad movie. It's another one to just make a giant, emotionless clusterfuck like this. It's like I was in awe watching this movie at how bad it was.
Yeah, I think I fall somewhere close to Matt on this. So with the other two movies in this trilogy, like I've always been of the opinion the sequel trilogy was a bad idea to begin with. So I always kind of went into each of these movies not expecting much. I was only just hoping for like an entertaining movie. And with the last two movies, I walked out of those movies at least like there were things I could take from it that were positive. There were things about those movies I enjoyed, even if I didn't enjoy those movies as a whole. This movie, I walked out bored and angry, which seems kind of contradictory because like I didn't have much investment in this movie, and yet it still found ways to piss me off.
I feel the same.
And the biggest was just that like it was dull. Like there was like I wish I could be like you, Omega, and just like find the humor in it, but it didn't like resonate with me on that level. It just kind of annoyed me. And yeah, this is like I've always called these movies like corporate fan fiction, and this is the worst of the three in terms of that. Just how much they pull out of their ass, how much like this whole like they were never going to make a coherent trilogy with the way they went about doing things, but like this is probably the worst way they could have ended it. And yeah, I think this is also just the worst Star Wars movie they've ever made, like anyone has ever made. It's just
I just want to point out that thank you Ryan Johnson is currently trending on Twitter.
Damn it!
See, it's funny because like you can take that both ways. So yeah, let's get into this movie, and I think probably the best place to start is at the start, and I think the beginning of this movie, especially like the first half of it, really is emblematic of the film's biggest problem, which is pacing and editing.
This film is edited like who was that Sonic fan on YouTube? Sega Sammy fan? This is as if he edited this movie. It's edited by like someone who's like a spazoid maniac.
Yeah, like
it's
someone.
Insane.
I just don't understand like how a movie like this can get like this, and you know, part of it is that like clearly JJ was trying to do too much with this movie, but it just spends so much of that first half just like going from like scene to scene, not really trying to connect any of them. It's like they had a bunch of ideas for cool shit they wanted to do, but didn't actually plan out anything of how to like properly connect these scenes and give these characters motivations.
I said this to Steve yesterday, but was it yesterday or was it the night before? I forget. But I said this to Steve before after watching this movie. It felt like I was watching a speed run of a Star Wars movie. Watching like the first like hour of this. I was just like so fucking confused. It was just so going by so fast. It was like a fucking fever dream.
And not only is it going by fast, but they're also hitting you like really up front with the fucking this is what you love about Star Wars. Forget about that last movie. Please love this one. We just opened with fucking Sheev right off the start. You got fucking Kylo and his Vader helmet. You got Rey training with the droid and like the blast helmet on. You got Chewie playing a hollow chess. You got fucking Maz Kanata there for some forsaken reason. It's like it just tries to shove everything at the start and just doesn't want you to think about any of it. It's just here it is. This is what you want, right, guys? This is what you want. And like turns out no, this is not what anyone wants.
One of the first things you see in this film is a giant tube or jar filled with Snokes. Like, how is that not the biggest fuck you to like The Last Jedi? Well, I mean, there's a bigger one later in the movie. There's bigger ones actually, but it's so insane that they I mean, I don't even know. Go ahead, Matt.
So was that just like implying that Snoke was just like a sock puppet?
He was 100%
That's what
a
it
puppet.
seems to be.
Like
yes.
everything Snoke said or did in the 30 years prior to Force Awakens was Sheev's doing.
It was just
That was
Sheev,
him. That was him controlling from the shadows.
Oh my god! It's like, oh god. You know, when they were bringing back Palpatine, I thought that they were just gonna go with some like, or at least I was hoping, at the least, that they were gonna go with some like more mystical shit where he's not actually physically back. It's just like his presence is still like.
He's like Ghost. He's like a force.
Yeah, it's
ghost.
like a Sith ghost.
The
or
old
something.
EU did that, where he just transferred his spirit to clones of himself.
Right, like, well, I mean, like, not even a physical form, just like, he's like just this manifestation of evil that has somehow, I don't know, like formed and, like, is able to, like, pull people to the dark side, and, like, it's, like, now affecting Kylo or something. I thought they were gonna go with something more mystical, not just a guy hovering around in like a mechanical robot.
Yeah,
thing,
just like
keep
attached
them
to like
alive.
some kind of mechanical apparatus. Like
No, he's
Like
a
a
full
fucking-
he's a full biological being with a full reproductive system, as we find out.
yeah, he sure is.
It's a fucking, oh my god, he's just there. Like, let's ignore the fact that he was literally vaporized in the depths of the Death Star, and the Death Star itself was literally vaporized into bits, which that's a whole continuity error with the Death Star even being on that planet.
But do you know the tragedy of Darth Plagueis the White?
Oh god.
See, that would have been like a more interesting way to tie the whole thing together if they wanted to go that route. It's
Well,
just
he
like,
has like his line, so it's like
yeah,
you know.
and it's like the thing about bringing Sheev back is like whatever. It's like they had to do something. I get it. It's a dumb move, but like to me, it's one. It's like they obviously didn't plan any of this through. But so if they had started from the Force Awakens, seeding this in, I would have been more accepting of it. Even though I think just the presence of bringing Palpatine back ruins the original trilogy. Like, it undermines that
does.
entire ending.
I mean, everything about this trilogy makes anything that happened in the original one completely pointless.
And it's so fucking bizarre that they got this big Star Wars fanboy to do these movies, and then he just completely shits on the movies he grew up with and loved. It's like, I don't get it. I just don't. Also, hi, Collin.
He's here.
He is
Hello,
here.
I'm here. What's up, guys?
We're
Welcome.
talking. We're talking about Sheev.
What if they were able to tie it in better? If Rey gets handed a book titled Darth Plagueis the Wise, only it's kind of dusty, right? And so she kind of dusts off, the cover of it, and it says Darth Plagueis the Rise of Skywalker instead.
Oh my god.
Colin, what were your short, quick thoughts on Rise of Skywalker?
I think it is bad in a much less interesting way than The Last Jedi is. I think there's, unfortunately, I know I'm here on the podcast. I don't mean to immediately, be extremely lame here. I just think that with this one, I'm unsure how much we could really contribute here to like what I've seen people talk about already.
I mean, yeah. Like the major problems with this movie is more with the fact that it's just not a structurally sound movie at all.
Yeah, it's a mess, It's its own trilogy in one movie.
Yeah.
Hell
And,
yeah.
and it's like it is structurally a problem as a movie, but also it's like the little like bits and pieces of the story that they started with in The Force Awakens that they were obviously going to build up as time went on. Like those just get scattered and just never followed up on or ditched or then fucking retconned or just changed into something else. It's just like it's hard to get invested in that.
I feel like the only way this really could have been salvaged is by abandoning the idea of a trilogy altogether and doing 4 movies instead.
Yeah.
Or more.
Yeah, or more. Yeah.
Or
it's
make a
frustrating
TV series.
But I almost feel like it's intentional that things happen in this movie too quickly for you to really like get invested in anything that's going on.
Well, that's
It's
JJ's that's JJ's whole MO, right?
Yeah, and this is just taken to the nth degree.
Rapid fire pacing. It's a roller coaster. It's usually a tighter ride than this.
God forbid that anything in this movie has any sort of like palpable consequence that you can feel throughout the rest of the movie.
I saw there was someone in my movie theater. They got up. They were like sitting in front of me. They got up. They went to use the restroom for like 6 minutes. Within that 6 minutes, they missed Chewie dying and then coming back to life.
The movie has so many things like that where it does something and then immediately undoes it.
It's like, oh no, I killed Chewie. Oh wait, he's back.
Meanwhile, like C-3PO is like, I'm gonna sacrifice myself, and like that could be a touching scene, but then they have to go and make him into a gag character after that, and
then give him his memory back anyway.
Yeah, right. Oh. So it's like,
remember when R2-D2 just woke up?
Yeah.
He's been just like asleep this entire trilogy and just wakes up randomly and goes back to bed and doesn't do anything. It's kind of depressing for the main character of Star Wars.
Man.
But then things from the other movie like really just don't play a role at all. Like, you know, like Last Jedi was getting into this whole like war economy bit that absolutely never fucking came back. You know, Rose is, you know, given an extremely minor role in this movie. I guess as a result of the backlash.
I love the fact that there's like fucking now like 3 or 4 or 5 potential love interests for Finn
it's ridiculous.
in this trilogy,
and
every single one is just doesn't happen. And then
that's
Rose literally kisses him after
role
like
is to be involved in this love triangle with Poe now involved for some fucking reason. Like,
oh
you know,
my God.
They definitely way overcompensated for The Last Jedi, and it's like as someone who didn't like what like Rian Johnson did with that movie, I was still feeling very much like you have to stick to what he did. You can't go back on this shit, and then they just go back on this shit, and it makes this movie suffers even more for that.
You're playing like an improv game with someone, right? Like you have like, you know, like whose line is it anyway? It's like, we go to the store. We get mugged by a guy, says the other guy, and the other guy is like, no, wait, the other guy was actually just a figment of his imagination. We're still going to the store. Like,
yes, and
basically, yeah.
I mean, it's like, just completely forget about that. We're starting fresh, and, you know, we only have 2 hours and 30 minutes, the same length as the other ones, to tell a complete story here, because we basically are walking back on what we walked back on already.
Probably the most offensive thing in the movie for that was the fucking mention of the Holdo maneuver, which you did not have to fucking bring up. You didn't. And not only did they bring it up, they made it worse.
It's a 1 in a million chance.
Why is that a maneuver? Have they done it since then?
It's now called the Holdo maneuver.
Yeah. But the thing is, they can't do it anymore because it was 1 in a million. But like, there's other, like, they could have come up with anything better than that, which is a non-explanation.
Or they could have just not come up with anything and just ignored outside sources.
Like, it was a bad idea, but once it's out there, just like fucking just leave it alone.
It's frustrating.
And yeah, like there's a million ways you can write around that. Like,
I mean, there's a million ways to write around pretty much every bad decision in this movie. Like, I don't get why the majority of it is like a fetch quest. It's like, oh, Kylo has the Wayfinder, Rey has the dagger.
This movie felt like a fucking video game.
It did.
Like,
the dagger quest is probably the most offensive because in a movie that has pacing problems of like trying to jam too much in, you basically introduced this fucking quest which could have been resolved very quickly, but they added in this stupid thing about how C-3PO can't translate it, so they have to go through all these fucking extra steps.
He translates it instantly. He just can't say it for whatever fucking.
He can't say it because he's literally unable to say Sith language. because he's like unable to.
But that's like you know,
it's like saying fucking Voldemort, I guess, for droids. Like they just can't do it.
It's like in Kingdom Hearts 2 when they forget how to say the word photograph. Like,
oh my god, I don't. Okay, I don't know this.
It's but C-3PO is, they get help for C-3PO with the best character in the film, Babu Frick.
Babu Frick.
Based Babu.
But like, also, like, C-3PO is about to, like, get sacrificed. He's like, wait, no, this isn't the way! And he, like, shuts down. Like, come on, man. Like,
but it's just, that whole thing was just an excuse to add another planet and more characters that, like, don't really get established or elaborated on.
Speaking of an excuse to add another planet, can we talk about the secret fucking Sith planet with thousands and thousands of spaceships that all have Death Star quality lasers, and no one knew about it?
I hope all of them are staffed by Snokes.
I was fucking beside myself in the theater when they revealed that once again this whole fucking thing comes down to another planet-killing weapon, except you mass-produce them. Like, the most creatively bankrupt thing. It's just even worse than the fucking Starkiller base shit.
It's okay to scale down sometimes.
Isn't that like the thing that they have to find the planet basically ripped directly from Jedi Fallen Order? Or something?
Like the Wayfinder?
Yeah. Like, isn't that like part of that storyline in that game?
Oh my god.
Like they have to find this like object thing that's like supposed to be, I don't know what it actually does in the game.
Yes, but basically there is some. It's a holocron in the game that you need to unlock a temple. So it's always just like the MacGuffin in anything. But yeah, it was just an excuse to why they can't go to the final area of the game straight away.
Right. And like it's like it feels like they they stole. It feels like they stole something straight from a fucking video game.
Yeah, and it's weird. And like I said, it's a movie that like has pacing problems of going too fast, but also wastes your time at the exact same time. It's completely bizarre.
And that's the other thing. Like, if you just have like a giant legion of fucking planet destroying ships, like you don't like. Do you really need that many? Like, you could have like maybe like 10 just go to planets, just appear there, just fucking light speed to planets, shoot the planet, and it's dead. Hey, if you don't obey us, we'll just do this to every planet. Like,
to me, it's just it's more emblematic of the problem of just lack of foresight with these movies, where like you cannot convince me that Palpatine has just been on this planet for decades, hiding in the shadows, building all this up, while at the same time manipulating the First Order to do the exact same shit that just failed with the fucking Starkiller base, the first movie. Like, these storylines don't work in parallel because they clearly were not thought of at the same time. So you're just scrambling.
Unironically, how embarrassing!
Yeah, and like they want to have their big like end game moment at the end of the film where all the ships show up, but like none of that is like ever explained or makes sense. And because like the movie has not earned your willingness to be in on what's going on, like you can't hand wave that shit. It just becomes even more glaring.
Yeah,
I had fun. I liked it. You guys are taking this too seriously, I think.
I think there's some Schadenfreude to be gleaned just from how badly it shits on The Last Jedi.
Oh yeah, I did.
Luke catching the lightsaber was fucking Kino, though.
A Jedi's weapon deserves more respect.
Damn, they really did Ryan. I always want to say Rian Johnson like that, huh?
Oh god, and.
But Luke pulling his X-wing out of the water, that was
unironically the one thing I really liked about the movie was that scene.
That was.
I mean, it's completely like fan service. Like you didn't need that.
But it was fan service with a point. I felt.
I guess.
I mean, this movie had.
I'm just not sure how well an X-wing is going to work after being submerged in water for several years.
I mean, yeah, and those are the kind of little details that in a better movie you can forgive. But
yeah,
every little thing sticks out so much worse just because of just how bad a movie is.
There's just
also
so many unearned things.
Yes, totally. Yes,
Like,
I
the
felt like no
fucking-
emotion for anything that was going on, despite how much the movie desperately wanted that from me.
Yeah, like it felt like it was trying really hard to like be emotional or have emotional moments and stuff, but nobody, like, none of the characters do anything. This is one thing that really frustrates me about this trilogy. 3 2.5-hour movies for this over the course of 4 years now. Well,
Oh yeah,
2015,
4. Yeah.
2017, 2019. I feel absolutely no connection to any of these characters. I feel like I don't know who they are.
You mean our old friends?
This trilogy, they were a good friend. This trilogy is over, and it feels like it's barely even begun.
Well, to me, it's especially frustrating because, like, characters just bounce back and forth between their motivations with no real semblance of identity.
Well, that's
Like,
the problem. They don't. The characters don't have arcs or motivations other than
Yeah.
Rey. No one in this movie has an arc.
Finn
I mean,
has
just-
nothing
Kylo
to do.
Kylo Ren is the biggest offender of this, in my opinion, because
Oh god, we
Kylo
gotta
Ren
talk
is,
about that.
yeah, because Kylo Ren is now redeemed by doing the same exact, like, being put in the same exact situation that he was at the end of Episode 7, and just making a different choice for no fucking reason.
Yeah. That's the no fucking reason is the biggest part of that for me, because like I tweeted about this, the scene from Jedi where Luke goes to see Vader and turn himself in, like that is the moment where like you see that just a bit of glimmer in Vader where you can telegraph what's going to happen, but Kylo Ren has none of that. He just gets like a call from his Deus Ex mommy that just stops him in his tracks, and like that's it. That's the turn. And none of it is earned, none of it is justified. And they want to fucking really believe that is going to work after he's had this entire movie, this entire trilogy of not really wavering at all. Like, this is who he's been.
It's literally in the same position, the same exact position. He's talking to his father, having the same exact conversation, and they try to pass it off with their little fucking cute, Episode 5, like, oh, I love you, I know, like nonsense shit, and like expecting it to, work this time, like, and expecting us to believe that it would work this time after it went so far south on Episode 7, and nothing has changed for the character.
Yeah, and then in Episode 8,
like,
in Episode 8, he Zuko's. They bait and switch the face turn,
right?
Which was, it's mildly clever on paper, but you've got to put more eggs in your basket for this eventual turn here in the third one.
Well, what I liked about where they were going with in Episode 8 is because there's this whole idea of Kylo sort of consistently looking up to Darth Vader, and when he kills Snoke, when he finally brings himself to kill Snoke, he's performing the same act of murder that Darth Vader is performing in killing his master. But whereas where Darth Vader does that as an act of redemption, Kylo Ren doing that is falling deeper than Vader has ever been.
Right.
And that's why with the introduction of the Knights of Ren into the First Order, which is something I was hoping was going to be given a lot more weight, that Kylo, being the leader of the Knights of Ren, is now integrating Knights of Ren into the First Order, and sort of they have their own machinations for this sort of thing. Like I was really hoping that they would end up doing something very interesting with that. Meanwhile, the Knights of Ren are only just there to be mooks, and it's like, come on.
I thought the whole point of Kylo's character is that he needed a shrink and they got him a priest.
Right.
And it just kind of feels like I was really hoping that all the way back from Episode 7 that they would not just redeem him through death.
Yeah, well, I mean, that would be the most cliche way to go around doing it.
I was hoping that if he were to be redeemed at all, he'd just fuck off somewhere afterwards. And
You know-
just be forced to live his life.
You know your movie sucks when you make The Last Jedi sound like a fucking masterpiece.
Not only
It
did
is-
they do that, but then they had to turn around and have him kiss Rey.
Oh,
yeah, that was
God.
crazy.
no.
That was
No.
crazy.
My dick shriveled up.
Can I just
What do
can
you
we just
mean
go?
by that?
Can we just quick go over the scene in question where Kylo suddenly changes? So
Go ahead.
he's fighting Rey. Rey and him are just having this brutal fight to the death on this like ship. They're
Like the
both out.
halfway point.
They're
in the
both
movie.
out to kill each other. Fucking Carrie, Princess Leia, somehow forgot her name. Leia suddenly is just like, oh, I have to go now. My planet needs me. She decides to say, or I guess my son needs me in this case. She just like uses her remaining power, I guess, to call to Kylo, just saying his name Ben, and then dies because sure they had
No
to get her
additional
out of
footage.
the movie somehow, and that's all it took. That's all it took to just make him snap out of it. And then this, I guess this is where he turns because his mom died, and then meanwhile Rey's here. It's like fucking grabs his lightsaber, brutally stabs him in the fucking chest, like I gotta kill you, and he's like God. And then right
Another
after
fake
that,
out death. Another fake out
immediately
death.
she's like, oh no, Princess Leia is dead, and she's like, and then she like looks at him and she's like, oh, I guess I gotta heal you now, and gets better, and then she just fucks off, and it's like, what even just happened? Why did it, like, what was the motivation for anything that even happened in the scene? It's just like,
There just isn't. There's a complete
it's like
lack of motivation in everyone.
it's like 4 different scenes all combined into one that feel like have no weight to anything, and it just left me so confused. I was like,
Hot take here. All right. Maybe a simple way to fix this movie. Start from the beginning and make Kylo the protagonist of it.
Yeah, I think that would have been really interesting, honestly, because they were almost setting it up like it opens with him.
he's basically the one who saves the day in the end.
Right.
Is the funny thing.
Because Finn and Poe don't do anything other than bicker over their newfound love triangle. Like,
Because I feel like if you just had the movie primarily focus on Kylo and then fold Rey in a little bit later, you'd be able to get a little bit more time with Sheev, a little bit more time for his character arc. Because I feel like that's the most important thing here.
well, yeah, I mean, I don't think we need to introduce Sheev. I really don't think that it's necessary.
Yeah, I know. But if you have to
Plot.
introduce someone, if you're
It's
really
just
going to go
so-
the Sheev route, I mean, I wouldn't have been so on the nose with Sheev, and I don't think that was the plan going in. Even when they
Yeah,
said,
that was
we're in
weird.
DEFCON Sheev mode, right?
Hell yeah.
I'm pretty sure that their original intention was probably to have him appear as a ghost or something, not have him be the final physical threat of the film. I don't
Yeah,
think that was the plan going in.
Unbelievable.
It was so bizarre to be going into the theater, like sitting down, watching the movie, and it just starting like at the title crawl, just starting with
The dead speak.
the dead speak. Palpatine's alive, and everybody's chasing after
Palpatine.
him.
The dead
it's like-
speak
and I
asterisk.
was like-
Please see Fortnite event.
Yeah.
Thank you, Jeff Keighley.
And I'm just like, I felt like I missed something. I felt like, was there like a movie in between here I somehow missed? Like it felt like there was something here that just completely, like it felt like there should have been something in between The Last Jedi and this one for this to even be a plot thread now. It just felt so bizarre. And I get it, like it's just so shoehorned in. It just feels so shoehorned to
you
have
wanna
him.
Can we
speak
talk
about-
about
shoehorned. Carrie Fisher is what
Yes.
used so much in this movie than I expected. Like I thought, okay, maybe she'd be like in the first 10 or so minutes and she dies off. No, she's like her character's in this throughout the whole like 2/3 of it before she actually dies.
Yeah,
Yeah.
I feel bad even criticizing this because we all know the circumstances behind it, but it's like they like you have this. I was talking about this. There's a scene early in the movie where Rey gives the lightsaber back to Leia because she feels she's unworthy of it. And then 5 minutes later, Leia gives the lightsaber back to Rey. Like, that exchange makes no fucking sense, but it's like, we only have so much footage, we have to figure out how we can use this. And it's you would have been better off writing her out of the movie, honestly.
I have absolutely no qualms criticizing this, because they had an entire goddamn year between Carrie Fisher's death and The Last Jedi's release.
More than that.
They could have just
because Carrie Fisher died before Last Jedi. So it's like...
They could have just killed her off like in the opening crawl, like, oh, she's dead now.
That would, that also would have been. I don't think there was a good way to handle this, honestly. Because even if you killed her off in The Last Jedi, like, that would have felt like too much because you also killed off Luke Skywalker in that movie. It's like, I don't think there was a good way around this.
Well, the first step is don't kill Luke.
Well, fair enough, but no one was going to stop Rian Johnson on that one.
Yeah, I don't know why. Who knows why? Wasn't there some credible leaker out there talking about how JJ and Collin Trevorrow were not well liked by the Lucasfilm group, and only Ryan was, really?
There was, I do remember, there's some supposed...
Sounds like they were getting a little cliquey over there.
There was some stuff going on with JJ and the studio. Supposedly JJ wanted to do a lot more interesting stuff with The Force Awakens, but he wasn't allowed to, and
which made sense at the time because you want to see the movie.
Yeah, but then after he was forced to just make like The Force Awakens, just this really kind of tame and safe reboot of A New Hope, like he's done Star Wars because they have a new director, and then they just pull him back in, and like it seems almost like he like resented having to come back for this. And like reading on some info I've heard, this is all fucking rumor, but and then also apparently the original director Trevor Rowe, like he had plans for this movie that were completely ruined by Rian Johnson, and that's part of the reason why he actually left. Like apparently he wasn't fired. He actually quit.
Yeah. So from what we pick up on from, I don't know, right? Obviously, grain of salt throughout all of this stuff, but it seems like a lot of them are credible. It was Collin Trevorrow and JJ actually got along relatively well, which sort of explains. I know Collin Trevorrow wanted Luke alive. We know that for sure. That he wanted Luke alive, and it's that absolutely obvious that JJ did not agree with Luke's character arc whatsoever. It's amazing to me how these guys were not on the same page at all. It's incredible.
Yeah, they just gave them too much power.
Yeah, this cliquey bullshit destroyed a multi-billion-dollar franchise.
And now it might be actually making less than fucking Joker.
I mean, the decision to split it off across 3 writers is just why would you give it?
Why would you announce 3 different directors who have their own complete different style, way ahead of schedule? It's just one of the most bizarre decisions.
And why would you let the writer of Batman v Superman and Justice League write the final movie in this?
Martha.
Oh God!
Like honestly, like everyone knows just like how much of a mess this was. Like constructing it from beginning to end, which also didn't help that they did these movies in 2-year time spans as opposed to 3.
Yeah, absolutely.
Like all the other movies, and this one suffered from it the most.
With like a filler movie in between each year too, which I don't know if that would affect anything, but like
not really, but. Like, these movies need more time, especially for this one when you fired the director and had to scramble to get a new one. It's like, you're already behind the 8 ball.
Yeah.
Can we talk about the worst scene in this movie? Which is when Chewie gets the medal from Maz Kanata at the end of the movie.
You mean the best scene? I fucking clapped. I love that. It makes no sense. Where did she get that? Why is he given one? Wasn't
that the thing Luke gave to Leia at the end of Last Jedi though?
No, those are dice.
Yeah, those were Han Solo's dice.
Oh,
this was the medal.
Also, which by the way, we're an illusion.
Yes, by the way.
Yeah,
this was
Okay,
This-
then I was confused.
No, this is the medal they all get at the end of A New Hope, like the throne
Except
room
for
scene.
Chewie,
But
which
except for
became a meme.
Chewie, which yes is a long in joke between Star Wars fans.
Oh god!
And there's this big swelling emotional music, and Maz Kanata, a literal Who, is like, "Here you go, Chewie."
May as well
it's
turned
like,
to the camera
yay.
and winked at the audience. And I
There's a
would
lot
like
of
to point
moments
out,
like that.
as I found out later, there is a comic that already gave Chewie the medal, so they didn't even
fuck
need
the
to do
comics.
this.
In canon?
In canon.
Oh my gosh.
Well,
Brilliant.
Chewie needed something to do, and they actually get.
I felt really bad for Chewie after Leia died, because it just hit you
Oh,
home
yeah.
like, all his friends
Everyone-
are dead.
Yeah, they
All
have
of Chewie's friends are dead except for a fucking droid. And a droid that doesn't even... two droids, I guess.
Lando. Let's talk about Lando.
Oh, Lando.
He's
I
in this
guess
movie.
Lando.
He did a good Lando, I guess.
Yeah, he was fine.
Williams
He was probably the
Seemed to
best
have-
part of this movie.
seemed to have really fun. I enjoyed his presence.
They gave him
I
they,
did...
they gave him a really weird line where he's like, "Give Leia my love," and he says it in a very sexual voice. It kind of came off the wrong way, but
I did so in the half in the bag review they released earlier today. I did like how they point out during that big fight at the end, everybody's dying and oh my god, we're all dying, and then here comes Lando and he's like, ah, 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 ah. He's laughing.
that's our
Hell
Lando.
yeah!
Classic.
Oh god.
He
Man,
shows
okay, at least one guy from the original. I mean, I guess not the absolute original crew, but basically the original crew. At least one of them got to have some good moments and didn't feel like his character was destroyed and miserable.
He was fine here,
Yes.
probably because he couldn't really do much.
Yeah.
Oh yeah! Damn.
I do like. Oh god, I will say, it's stupid, but I did like the part where they all stormed out of the little ships on horses, on alien horses, literal cavalries riding on top of the fucking Star Destroyers.
Yes, that
There's-
seems like there was
that
a
was-
lot more scenes with those characters.
That was something
cut
very. That was that moment where that was very Return of the Jedi Ewoks killing stormtroopers with trees thing.
Oh yes, let's call
Like-
back to the absolute worst part of the original trilogy.
I kind of part of me it's dumb, but part of me
It's
kind of
so
likes the idea of something really primitive beating something really scientifically advanced.
I mean that was
You
Jedi,
and
except they
George Lucas.
they that would have worked in Jedi if they had stuck with the idea of using the Wookiees and not the Ewoks.
Yeah.
But that's also this movie's problem in general of just it is too much faithful to being another Return of the Jedi.
Yeah.
Much in the way the first movie was just a ripoff of A New Hope, and then you have this weird middle chapter that's an inverse of Empire.
Yeah,
This whole trilogy's kind of fucked.
Yeah, the middle of the movie is basically anti-Empire too. So it's all
and I
just
think along with all just the problems they've had making this sequel trilogy, that is the biggest problem of just you've already seen the original trilogy, and you're just seeing it again. These movies don't have their own identity. Whether you like or hate the prequels, those movies have their own identity. They're very separate from the original trilogy. This is just doing that again, except much, much worse.
yeah. And they add absolutely nothing to Star Wars
Except
at
a
all.
bunch of dumb force powers that kind of ruin things, honestly.
Other than a bunch of force powers that just kind of make
Healing powers.
all the previous movies seem really dumb. It just makes it all feel like video gamey shit. The Force used to be something that was all very mysterious and subtle and mystical, and now it's just oh, here, let me here snake monster, let me heal you up real quick, fam.
Let me transfer this item across time and space to you.
Yeah, that whole all that stuff with like the weird like force bonding, I guess is what they're calling it.
And that was like the one thing they properly carried over from The Last Jedi, but like, I think they went too far with it.
I did kind of like the part where Rey like kind of baton passes the lightsaber to Kylo on the planet when he's like coming to help her.
It did bother me that though that like their whole bond basically boiled down to the power of friendship in order to like that's all it was.
Power and friendship and love?
Question mark?
Question. Thank you, Kylo. I'm in love with Kylo now, man who literally murdered my only family and friends.
Classic.
Remember at the end of Last Jedi?
I'd like to award J.J. Abrams with the Totally Understands Women Award.
Like it's so weird to complain. Like I mean, Rey was a big problem in the first movie, but like that kind of went away in The Last Jedi. I felt like that handled her a lot better, and then to circle back around and do it even worse by making her a Palpatine just feels like undermines everything they were going for with that character. Like specifically, there are quotes from Abrams out there talking about how he disagreed with the fact that like having strong like midichlorian counts or like your family ties influences how strong of a Jedi you can be. Like he didn't agree with that kind of stuff, and then just turned around and had to justify Rey being strong by can't make her a Skywalker, but they did, so they made her a Palpatine instead. It's like, and like, it's only in there because they needed to justify Palpatine being in the movie and having a connection to Rey. It's like, no, it doesn't work.
So who's the lucky lady who who got with Palpy?
It was the librarian from The Phantom Menace. Do we know this character?
Wait, are you talking about the Jedi librarian?
Yeah.
Jocasta Nu?
Yeah.
Oh, she's fucking dead. No, she died.
It was Watto.
Vader killed her. Watto.
Hey, Palpy, come over here.
I think that is actually the least believable part of this movie. That Sheev could ever naturally father a child. The most evil man in the galaxy.
I guess
bizarre.
I guess there was the whole thing in the prequels where he was talking about how he could like conjure life or whatever.
I mean, yeah, that's what he did. So, but why would he then? Like, Anakin is his child through those means. So why would he also feel?
Is that canon too?
What's that?
Is that canon?
What?
What, that he's like legitimately Anakin's father?
Like Sheev caused Shmi's pregnancy.
Yes. So I know they went into that backstory before Disney bought it, so that stuff is not canon. But I still think like the implication is there in the movie, and it's strong enough to where it's hard to deny. But
the banking clan will bear your child.
Oh God.
I know it's not gonna happen because money, but like the movie series really needs to take a lot more than 3 years off because they have a movie scheduled 3 years from now, and I think it would be better if they just took like another fucking decade off.
They just really need to scale this shit back. And
are they going to cancel Rian Johnson's trilogy?
That's already been canceled. They're just pretending that like they haven't.
Okay.
Yeah, and
there's absolutely no way that's still a thing.
Like, I don't know what they're gonna do. I mean, it's still funny to me that it seems that like Fallen Order seems to be a legitimately better story.
Yeah,
and offers more for Star Wars. Then
people still really like Star Wars. Like Mandalorian is hugely successful, so there's still an audience.
Look, everybody's memeing about Baby Yeed.
Quick, put that Baby Yoda movie into production.
Stat. Kathleen
Here's-
Kennedy, come on, you're on a limb here.
And here's the other thing. Like, I watched some of like the beginning of Jedi Fallen Order. Like that like intro sequence with I don't know the names of these characters in that game.
Cal Lightsaber.
Huh?
Cal Lightsaber.
Yeah. Like him and that weird alien dude that's with them at the beginning of the game. There's more emotion and like interesting moments between those two characters in that first like half hour of that game than there is in the entirety of this trilogy.
It's because they take their time to build up characters. It's a very interesting thing to do in your fiction.
Yeah, it's almost as
Never heard of that
almost
before.
it's almost as if this kind of thing is, important for connecting people to your fucking movies. Oh God.
Collin, when you link to that spoiler Webum in the Clyde, was that the lightsaber thing?
Spoiler Weapon in the Clyde. Which one was this? Was this the one
I don't
sent
know.
you?
I remember you spoiled something. You said don't look at it.
Okay, was it the one I sent to you personally?
No.
Oh,
was just-
okay.
You
In
posted
general, Clyde.
Oh well.
Like, was that? So I mean, because I stayed away from the spoilers and shit. Were people generally laughing at that when that came out?
Laughing at wait, what are we talking about?
The double lightsaber
Oh.
force lightning deflection.
That was in a trailer. You didn't see that, Steve?
It was not in the trailer.
It was.
With the power of Halo 2 dual wielding, I shall defeat you.
No, yeah. He's talking about a different thing. Oh my god.
Oh.
He's not talking about the red dual lightsaber. He's talking
Yeah,
about.
I'm talking about when she picks up the other lightsaber at the end and defeats Sheev.
Yeah, that's the. I don't think I.
Dude,
no,
that
wasn't the wedding
sounds
lightsaber.
epic. That was like Dragon Ball Z tier. Bros,
Yeah.
you guys didn't enjoy that?
2 lightsabers.
2 lightsabers against my electricity.
Help me, Plagueis! I can't turn it off.
Dude, and like all like the past Jedi's whisper to Rey to rise. Yo,
Rise up, Ray.
Half of these characters that no one even knows because they don't follow the expanded universe shit.
I am all the Sith. I am all the Jedi.
See, I didn't understand that because I thought his first name was Sheev.
that was Steve is one of his clones. Duh.
Oh, that was all. Yeah, that was all. Sheev's clone.
Was that her final line? I am the Jedi when she kills him.
No,
think
her
so.
her final line is. Oh wait,
Oh.
you mean in that fight or in the movie?
Yes.
Oh.
I think so.
Because the whole thing I could think of during that scene was they're desperately trying to have the I am Iron Man moment from the end of Endgame,
Yeah.
and it just like doesn't land. Like nothing, like everything else in this movie just doesn't land.
Ugh.
Oh man. It's just funny to me. Like the beginning of this movie is Kylo Ren, like, and even like, correct me if I'm wrong. Was Kylo Ren? Wasn't there a line in The Last Jedi at the around the end where Kylo Ren is like, where like Rey is like flying around in a ship, and Kylo Ren is like, shoot her out of the fucking sky.
Yeah, he's like,
Yeah.
blast that hunk of junk out of the sky.
Yeah.
It's the Millennium Falcon.
And like he's trying to fucking murder her. And then in this movie, it's like, we're gonna take over the throne, and then at the end, it's like, oh, I'm good guy now. I'm bringing you back to life, and now here's our kiss, and it's just
Here's our
like,
kissies.
here's our, it's God.
Like things that could work in a better movie where everything landed and was properly justified and built up, but no.
There's
This-
like
this-
no build up. It's all just like,
You know the fucked up
it's a
thing?
hot fucking mess.
The Last Jedi had such a like final ending to it that you didn't really need this movie.
Well, that scene with Luke staring out at the two the two.
Yeah,
moons
that's the
before
end
he
of
fades
Star
away.
Wars to me.
It might as well be. I mean,
But then
it's,
they come back and have to do it again because there's no way they could end on anything else.
I mean, I didn't like that they brought it back right at the end with the kid with the broom staring up at the same sky. I mean, like,
that was
Wait,
awful.
oh
but-
yeah, what happened to the broom kids?
But it's like
They're
it
still on
just
that planet.
like
Still on
it
that
just
planet,
shows
it's
like how poorly they construct this shit. Where it's like they do the twin sun thing twice in Last Jedi and then have to do it again in this movie because it is literally the only way you can end a Star Wars saga. It's like, god damn it.
Oh God. This is a very minor thing. I Did anybody else like almost burst out laughing at the part at the end where she's like going down the little mini sand dune and she like has to ride on the little thing?
That was actually a callback to the.
I know it
Force
was. I
Yes.
just laughed at that because I thought it was funny.
I was expecting her to like trample over like Aunt Beru's skeleton.
Awakens. Frank,
Fuck.
What's up?
didn't you say you wanted to say something about Rey Skywalker?
I just thought it was absolutely ridiculous that she goes back and this random fucking person comes up to her and is like, no one's lived here in years. Who are you? It's like, and who the fuck are you? Like, and she's like, I am Rey Skywalker. It's
You know,
like,
it would have been better if she went to the cantina.
Well, no, I was just fuming between that and the dumb fucking yellow lightsaber. I was like, Jesus Christ.
Okay,
like,
so she goes to the cantina so that the ending credit song can be the cantina song.
Yes. Star Wars is done forever. You wasted your money for these past 4 years.
Oh God.
What else is-
Palpatine's plan was just the most ill-conceived nonsense. He was just making it up as he went along.
Yeah,
He's
like
Kylo. He meets Kylo. He's like, Kylo, go kill Rey. Just go kill her. And then he's like, wait a second, don't kill Rey. I need to possess Rey's body and Xehanort her. It's like, wait, this is fucking like, what are you thinking here? Oh, can we also talk about how they belabored the do it? Like we all knew it was coming. But they still made us wait for it. Just that slow zoom in on Palpatine before they cut to another scene, and then they have to cut back to him going, "Do it!"
Yeah.
Like they knew that line was a meme. They knew he had to say it. They just made us wait. Unbelievable.
Can anybody name any of the new characters that were introduced in this movie?
Mando.
I'm new characters.
So I only know the
Zorba,
helmet
The
girl 'cause
orangutan.
the helmet girl has a dumb name and it's like Zora Bliss or something like that.
Babu
Yeah.
Frick.
Babu Frick.
What was the name
Oh.
of that random alien on the Millennium Falcon at the beginning of the movie?
Oh, you mean the slug dude?
Yeah, that was weird.
What was the name of the evil First Order general? that
Oh,
killed-
General Hux. Oh my God.
No, not
No,
it
it was like-
General Hux.
I
The
think
guy
it was
who killed
Price. I think it was Price.
Remember
We gotta-
General Hux?
we
Remember
gotta-
how he was a good guy the whole time?
We gotta
Right,
talk
he-
about General fucking Hux.
General
This fucking
Hux.
guy. His arc in this movie is, I don't like Kylo Ren, so I'm going to help you now. Okay, thanks, fam. They leave. The guy's like, oh, you're the spy, and shoots him.
The way he said "I am the spy" almost made me laugh.
Oh, it made me laugh.
Oh God.
Guys,
Like,
this
I'm not
movie-
exaggerating. There were a lot of times in this movie I had to contain myself in the theater because like my theater was actually relatively full.
Oh, mine was like
Mine
very
was about-
sparse.
Yeah,
Mine was
and so
about
it's like there were a lot of movies where just like I just wanted to yell, just fuck off because I'm not buying it, or just laugh at like how unintentionally hilarious some of the scenes were.
Why didn't Hux just go with them?
Too much pride?
Like he's like, shoot me in the leg so they think it's believable, but they just kill him anyways. And it's like, well, he wanted them to shoot him in the arm, but whatever. But like, why didn't he just go with them? Like, if you wanted to see Kylo Ren lose,
That would have been even way
Steve.
too many more characters.
I mean, you're right.
They need
But
to
it's like,
start
what's
killing
even
off
the point?
characters.
Why did that other guy need to be like the Sheev worshiper? Why couldn't Hux
The other guys in there solely to be bait and switch for the traitor thing.
Yeah,
Like they played it up very much early on in the movie.
And again,
Seemed like he's a traitor.
there's so many little things you can talk about with this movie, but it just goes by so fast. You don't even remember it. Like, so much of this movie to me was just a fucking blur.
Why did they introduce that other new droid?
Dude, that one part
toys,
of that
final attempt to sell toys.
That one scene where like Rey holds out her hand, he's like, "No, thank you." He's like, he has like PTSD. That was one of the darker moments, I thought.
Which one?
Where she holds out her hand, and he like comes up to her closely, but then she like holds out her hand farther, and he like backs away. He's like terrified. It gives some like weird kind of almost backstory to that whole ship arc that I think was either cut out or to like imply.
Oh,
it's never elaborated on.
You mean the droid?
Yeah.
Yeah, I kind of liked that. Like, I was like, oh, that's a cute little kind of subtle thing there. Man, that's kind of
like it never goes beyond that.
No, it never goes anywhere. But I was just like, why couldn't we have more of stuff like that? Why couldn't we have more
Babu Frick?
More Babu Frick.
One thing I do want to give this movie the slightest bit of credit for is toning down the awful humor from the last two movies.
Yes,
to the point where I say this movie is not genuinely funny at all, except when it's like ironically funny.
Yes,
where it was trying to be serious and came off as funny. The stupid like more modern type of humor that was in the last couple of movies is basically non-existent. It felt more like it felt closer to what a Star Wars movie is in terms of tone.
Yeah, I will agree with that. Although, I did like Babu Frick, unironically.
Hell yeah,
he was genuine. His moments were genuinely funny.
And there was also like a lot of C-3PO early in this film. Maybe that's why it didn't have a lot of like all the like the new characters in this film. They didn't take up like whole subplots like in The Last Jedi. And so I think that's maybe a reason why this film didn't seem to be as cringy in terms of like the other kinds of cringe.
This film at least did not start with a literal "your mama" joke.
It's like it kind of goes the other way, where like all the other secondary characters get fucking pushed aside because they forgot to spend the other two movies having your fucking main three characters together at any point in time. So like they overcompensate in this movie by having them together for pretty much the entire film. So it's like there's no room for anyone else to do anything.
There's no room to breathe. There's no room for any sort of development whatsoever. Part of that is because they wasted their time with The Force Awakens just being a remake, and they wasted their times with The Last Jedi being with a whole bunch of shit that didn't matter, like that fucking. I still am baffled at that whole casino segment that literally amounted to nothing. Like,
and even the important things in that movie that were supposed to carry over also didn't matter.
Literally nothing that happened in the previous two movies prior to Rise of Skywalker had like no meaning. Like none of that had any meaning whatsoever.
I wanted to put my fist through this whole lousy, beautiful movie.
Like everything, like Rise of Skywalker. Rise of Skywalker is trying to salvage the last two movies by being its own trilogy all in one, and it
can't. It's impossible.
It just ends up being a fucking mess.
Okay.
Yeah, I don't know if I'll ever want to watch this movie again. Like,
damn.
Like I've watched The Force Awakens twice, and the second time I thought it was like very boring because it's like I've literally seen this movie 100 times when it was called A New Hope, and then I tried to go back and watch The Last Jedi in preparation for going to see this movie, and it's like I got as far as the "your mama" joke, and I'm like, I really don't need to see this movie again. There's just like nothing here to hold on to. There's like, I really hope that there's never a moment where like people go back on these movies and act like they're great. Like, I want this trilogy's legacy to be forever stained as, and I think it will be, because like there will be other Star Wars movies, but there will never be a main trilogy again unless they're really creatively bankrupt. But like,
I'm just,
there's no washing this bad taste out of your mouth. This is there forever.
Yeah, like
Baby Yoda mouthwash.
Like I was already very much like out after The Last Jedi, but like this movie was like I felt exasperated by this. Just like
I felt like my time was not being respected by J.J. Abrams.
I never watched.
Respecting that.
How dare you, JJ?
I've never watched
Frank's time.
I've never watched a movie that was so frantic and crazy and filled with all this action and adventure that at the same time was so fucking tiresome and boring. Like, I felt nothing for anything that happened in this movie. It was an emotional void.
Yep.
Nope.
And in the end, like, and that's like Rey is such a nothing character. I know one thing people have been commenting on in this movie is the acting. Is that the acting is still good? Rey's acting is literally like her range is aggravated, shocked, and seemingly somewhat happy, and that's it. Like, she has like no fucking range, it feels like.
Everyone has been going on, like, Adam Driver gave this amazing performance in this movie, and he did in the other two. I thought he was really good.
Yes.
In this one, like, he felt like he was sleepwalking through the entire film, and like,
yeah,
he
was phoning it in.
And in the lightsaber fight, he is sleepwalking. Like, you literally, like, the two of them might as well be sleepwalking. Like, unbelievable.
Kylo Ren is still the best part of this trilogy.
I would agree with that, but they just did.
Except for this one, though. He doesn't get to do much.
Where he does basically save the day at the end, I guess.
But again, they redeemed him by him dying, so it's like...
They redeemed him by him sacrificing himself, just exactly like Vader did, because they have no fucking ideas. They can't just have... They can't. It would have been
funny. It would have been funny if, like, Kylo Ren picked up Palpatine. Through him. He rips him off like those cords and stuff, and just body slams them. I should have wrote this movie. Oh well.
When he was climbing out of that pit that Palpatine threw him in.
Oh yeah.
The only thing I can think of is this the Rise of Skywalker? Is this where they got the title?
Oh God.
But nope, we gotta make Rey a Skywalker. Because we have to make this the Skywalker saga, even though that's not what Lucas intended it to be at all. The first 6 movies are very much about Anakin Skywalker, and that's it.
Hashtag George Lucas was right. His review of Episode 7 was spot on, and it's all been downhill from there.
Honestly, the best thing to come out of the sequel trilogy is that I think it has redeemed George Lucas's legacy, which I'm very happy about. I think he got way too much shit. I was so fucking tired of the people who try to play like revisionist history and try to discredit like his work on the original trilogy as if like those movies' successes were independent of him. Like that shit pissed me off. And I think history will look much kinder back on him after this.
Yeah, I feel like they will too. Like that, it does annoy me when people do that. Like the same thing's happening with fucking Kojima, like with the Metal Gear series too. And like, I'm not saying it's the same situation at all. I'm just saying it's annoying how people will do that just because, he made this one bad set of movies. Therefore, everything he's done was just a fluke. Which that's not the case. It's just that he just needs a filter, is the thing. And yeah, like I say what you want about the prequels. They're bad. But I I feel like they at least feel like they have a reason to exist. They had a structure and a point and a story to tell.
And I don't think at any point they ruin anything that happens in the original trilogy. Like, I really don't think so.
A little bit.
What does it ruin exactly?
Well, there's the whole midichlorian thing.
I don't think that ruins
But
it.
Midichlorians suck. They're dumb. Prequels suck. I fucking hate them.
There's still like the
midichlorians
prequels...
change absolutely nothing about the nature of the
Listen,
Force. They are just a plot device to explain how Anakin was the chosen one.
We're debating midichlorians, so we should wrap this up.
I will debate you all night on midichlorians, but
that's another podcast. Save that for the midichlorian podcast.
The prequel trilogy is fun to laugh at, whereas this trilogy just makes me tired.
I had fun laughing at it.
I like the prequels.
I don't.
Collin?
Oh, Collin.
Collin.
He's gone. Well,
that's okay.
Collin, I guess he didn't like this movie either. Okay. Steve, final thoughts. Go.
This movie fucking sucks.
All right. Frank.
End of story.
I wasn't a fan.
All right, Matt, final thoughts.
It's been a while since I've seen all the movies, so this might not be the most accurate take. But I think Rise of Skywalker is legitimately the worst Star Wars movie I've ever seen.
Is Collin back?
Oh,
wait, we can see Collin, but we can't hear Collin.
Yeah, we can see you, but we can't hear you.
Oh no!
Wait, use the Force on him.
Oh, God.
Man, this plays great on the audio podcast.
We can barely hear you.
What the fuck?
The hell?
Hello?
We need to use like the Sith dagger to see if we can find Collin. Bring it back.
How did the people who made the Sith dagger know that it was going to fit perfectly into place like that?
I think the implication it was made after the Battle of Endor, but that's also stupid because they made it seem like an ancient artifact.
What if like a really big tidal wave came by and just knocked down a couple parts?
But you see, Palpatine was controlling the waves using the Force this whole time.
Of course.
He was behind everything.
Yeah, even, the ecosystem. So my final thoughts, I guess, I think Collin's dead forever. I did not hate this movie. I know it's a bad movie. I can't defend it. But these movies, I like them more than the prequels, but I still don't think they're as good anywhere near as the originals. So there we go. I had a wild, fun time watching this. So
I'm glad. Thanks, for
guys.
you.
Thank you.
Did we save Collin?
I think Collin has been buried in the sand with the lightsabers.
Collin, type out your final thoughts.
No, I think he's done. I think he's dead. He's done for.
I can't believe Collin is fucking dead.
He blew up on the ship. He was kidnapped by the Knights of Ren. There was a second ship the whole time.
This podcast has been dedicated to the memory of Collin.
Rest in peace.
Oh no.
His final thoughts are fuck this.
All right, and a happy holidays to you all.
Oh yes. Yeah, happy Festivus.
This is a great note to go into the holidays on, but sometimes you just got to deal with it.
All right, and I will see you all for the winter 2019 Loki cast.
Whenever that's
gonna be a big one.
Whenever that's gonna be.
Whenever that will be. All right,
in March.
All right, thank you everyone. Thank you all for being here to discuss this movie. Thank you everyone for listening.
Fucking hate
we're
Disney.
out.
Yeah.
Bye.
Wait.
Oh my God! You can tell us how you hate Star Wars?
Are we recording? Are we in?
Yeah, we're still going.
I'm here. Don't worry. Okay. Look, all my thoughts are basically the same. It's bad, but it's not as interestingly bad to talk about as The Last Jedi. I feel like it's definitely going to be something that you can never really talk about independently about how bad it is, right? It's always just going to be.
Uh-oh.
Oh.
No.
Are you serious?
No.
It's always
Oh, we
gonna
can hear
be
you
what?
now.
It's always going to be what?
Jesus Christ. All right,
It's always
look,
gonna be
fuck
what?
this. Fuck
It's always
this.
gonna be what,
Look,
Collin?
his leave was hanging like that.
It's always just going to be talked about like as the entire trilogy, basically. It sucks. it's just.
It stinks.
Great.
What a colossal waste of time.
All right. Yes, exactly.
How embarrassing.
How embarrassing.
How embarrassing for everyone involved.
Especially Kathleen Kennedy.
Except
No. Wait,
Oh,
can
no!
never be.
he's cutting out,
Hello?
and Frank left. What the fuck? Is
Fuck
this
this.
podcast a bigger disaster than the Rise of Skywalker?
No, that's impossible.
Oh.
You see that? You like my Mark Hamill quote there?
I thought it was Mark talking to me right now.
Why am I on camera? What's going on?
All right,
Huh?
we're done.
Okay.
For real this time.
Everyone, get the fuck out of here.
Bye.